What's up, you guys?
Hey, what's up, y'all?
Well, how do we even start describing this day? Well, let's just say
I feel like our moods kind of match the weather, the gray LA weather lately. That's kind of been the vibe for a little bit, a couple days for me at least.
right, we're not used to this in California. We don't do this. First of
No.
all, what is that? Like, I don't have the outfits for this.
I mean, I'm wearing shorts right now because when I left earlier, I saw sun, but it is much colder over here in downtown than I expected it to be.
Yeah, the deception is real. And I always say we're all connected, and I just be blaming the retrograde. I think we in Venus retrograde. I woke up upset, and I was like, had to Google, okay, I know there's a retrograde because there's no way I'm just feeling like this.
But hey, as we were talking about though on our way here, that's just kind of how life is sometimes though. Sometimes it's gonna hit you with like an unusual feeling out of nowhere. You're like, wait a minute, what is this? What is going on? Whether it's circumstantial or not. Like for me, it's a bit circumstantial, but there's definitely days you wake up and it's like, ooh, I'm not really feeling my normal self today.
Okay, so I have a question for you, something that I thought about right now.
Uh-huh.
And I want to define the way to, how to handle yourself in days like that, knowing that you are the creator of your reality.
Right.
So nothing happens by chance. But at the same time, not getting too caught up in trying to figure out why is this happening and still taking action.
Right.
And not falling into the place of this is a shitty day, and still being able to say this is a shitty day and still not being attached to it,
Yeah. I think the hard thing about going through emotions is to accept them without feeling victimized or paralyzed by them. Because I think oftentimes people try to resist feeling a certain way because it's just a downward spiral for them to get into that space. I think the thing you learn over time is that I heard this on a book actually. I heard this on a book.
We've been listening to audiobooks.
I heard this on an audiobook. That's hilarious. It was Jay Shetty's Think Like a Monk, and I think he said the cure to fear is detachment, because one of the reasons of fear is that we're attached to things, and they were attached to ideas, outcomes, expectations, and I think the older we get, the more we try to have awareness where we can accept a bad day without feeling like I'm a bad person or my life's a bad life. I think when we can learn to accept that and just be like, all right, today was a bad day. I tried my best. Things didn't work out. I'm gonna sleep it off tomorrow. We're gonna come back at this with another attitude. And if it feels like there's too many of those days, then you do have to start taking a bit more control and either stick to the routine, so that for me, working out is part of the routine, and I took a couple of days off because so much was going on, and then coming back to it yesterday and today is okay. That feels better. Having that little bit of my morning, even if it was later, even if it was shorter, just getting that motion in, okay, that feels better. And I think those are small steps that we can all take for ourselves. It's kind of like what you mentioned is if you don't have the moment in the morning for yourself, it's a frustrating day. And I think if we can learn to take the moment, even if it's later in the day, we can still come out ahead, or at least have a better day than where it's going.
Right. And I absolutely agree with you. You said something that is very, very true. You said something about the attachment. And I feel like what it is that we are, intellectual people. And when you are also an intelligent person and you have a very, you're good with your vision about how you want things to get.
Right.
You're good in figuring things out. You're good at having this image. Okay, I know what this is good for. I know what this is happening with that. I know what I'm doing with this. But it still doesn't mean that you know the things, the way that things should go.
Absolutely.
What I told you in the morning. I got one of the reasons I was upset this morning is because I posted a video on IG of my choreography that I worked so hard for, just creating it, bringing my girls, getting the videographer and everything, just for it to get blocked multiple times because of copyrights.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about it and I'm like, how do I know that it's supposed to be posted today? What if the delay is supposed to happen and maybe the day I repost it or find a way to repost it, somebody is going to see it and it's going to open opportunity
Maybe you're supposed to post it elsewhere. Maybe
right?
It's supposed to be on
like,
YouTube,
how do I know that it's supposed to go that way? You know, I don't know.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, that's kind of like the thing many of us have to play with is this idea of faith. It's like, okay, it's not working. It's hopefully going to work out in my way, but I think the thing where we just have to learn to accept is like, okay, maybe for today it's not the day. We repost it again later. Maybe we try in the stories. Maybe we try in the cutting it up. Maybe we try whatever the little thing. But like you said, sometimes that delay results in a larger harvest because maybe the person who's supposed to see that isn't following you yet. So maybe when they do follow you, you finally get this up and then they see it.
Right.
If you had posted it before, like today, and this person found you 3 weeks from now and you're so far past that video, I mean, not to say that obviously you're not going to create other content that can catch eye, but sometimes it's that one thing, like, oh my God, yes, that. So
Right.
I think I think when we have these kind of experiences and these bad days is to try to take that perspective is like, okay, look, it's not working out for me. I'm doing the best that I can, but for whatever reason today it's not working, so we're going to try again later. And then that persistence allows for it to continue to happen. It's like brewing up or like we were saying earlier, planting a seed. You need the rain in bad days for the seeds to grow. It's not all sunshine. The sun is not all going to do it. The plants will die if it's only sun. You need not only a day of it, a season of it. It needs to absorb. It needs to take it all in. It needs the sunshine with the rain, and you don't see what's happening. You don't see any of the root at all. Like it's all you get is surface level. All you get is just the top of it.
Right.
And for us, the frustrating part is like we're looking at it thinking like it's grass. And it's like, well, we need to see this grass grow, but we're growing roots. And that's the hardest part. I think that's the thing where it comes down to faith, patience. For us, it always comes down to is we're doing the best that we can. And if a day is not working out, that means maybe that's a day of rest or maybe a day to refocus and rethink the situation. One of my favorite things now, especially if things aren't going your way, is it says change the plan, not the goal. So if you have a goal and the plan isn't working to get to the goal, then change the plan, not the goal. If the goal is still to, be a creator or be a choreographer, that's within our power to go create and go do and to go choreograph. And I think we tend to forget that for ourselves, that sometimes the simple little thing, the little power of exerting energy or creative energy like dancing can do. It really has a power to help kind of break some of this I don't want to say negativity, but the lower energy. Because for sure, like, when things go wrong or things aren't going your way, it can feel like momentum goes further in a negative direction than it does trying to turn it around. But I think sometimes we also forget how powerful small, simple things are. Like, honestly, even sitting down to do this for the few minutes that we're doing it feels better than what we were in the car.
Right, it's like we're still getting shit done.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about it. I was like, look at me. Look at us. We were just like feeling like, like somebody stepped all over us.
Right.
And now we over here still getting, stuff done. And I think that's super important. That, even if you have a bad day, I feel, I feel kind of in a bad mood and that's okay. I think, and today that's what I told you in the car. Like I had to tell myself, maybe I shouldn't resist it. Things are not kind of going my way today, and that's okay. I don't need to resist it. You know what I mean? Tomorrow is always going to be a new day. I'm always going to go to sleep. I find something to be excited about. Like I was thinking about the leftover pizza in the fridge, and I was like, bro, I don't know where I was in such a good mood.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I have something to
Yeah,
look forward to.
And see, what I love though about that is that's a genuine thing and like an authentic way to switch the perspective. Because a lot of people, I think we get into this time in the term of toxic positivity, where it's like it's always a good day, oh we're always great, or we're always hustling, and it's like sometimes our energy isn't there, and that's okay. Like the beauty is you find the joy, and it's like, oh, I'm about to go home and have some pizza. I'm about to go have some cookies. I got a whole jar of cookies from Trader Joe's and
my God, Trader Joe's.
Some break and bake.
Amazing decision. Amazing.
Exactly. So, but it's the small simple things that help turn these energies and these vibes down. Because maybe, for instance, this is meant for us to go home and do whatever is meant to be done, so that way you relax and a new idea comes up. Because that's kind of the whole point. It's like we can't always force work.
Right.
I think it's good to stick routine and be able to do things. And I think something like this works out for us because we're exchanging energy and we're talking about it rather than complaining or venting. But but like sometimes you need to take that rest. So like on a usual day, maybe it would be like, we're gonna go film this, and then I'm gonna go choreograph, and then I'm gonna go work out. Whereas today it might be like, we're just gonna film this, I'm gonna go home, have some pizza, watch something, journal, and then from there a new idea can sprout.
Right. It's okay. Like, I think like what it is, a lot of people beat themselves up. Like I know that sometimes I would beat myself, like in my head, I would like notice how the attachments and how we identify with things, how it repeats itself, because again, it is the ego. And it's like, if I work out every day and I'm doing all of this, and in my head, I have this concept of Kim, and she's on it, she's working out every day and she's hustling and she's, on her grind. But some days, like I don't feel like it. And I feel like that's when we have to remember that this is just a conception, and you can't, the conscious mind can put a title on the subconscious, because we will never be able to figure out infinite intelligence, and we will never be able to keep up with that plan that is already made for us. So it's like, and this is, I'm so glad that we're talking about this right now, because I needed to hear it. So I'm like saying it without even realizing, but it's like we get so caught up in thinking that we know what's best for the future, and to know what's going to happen tomorrow and how things should go and how we should be. But just the energy being spent on deciding who am I going to be and how and define the way that I should act takes away from the present moment. And I think most of the work should be working on, meditating and being comfortable and familiar with our inner being, because it will always lead us in the right direction. And some days you're going to be like that, and some days you're going to be like that, and you're going to meet different people that they're going to seem like they're this kind of category of people, because our mind is going to do it, but most of the time they end up being absolutely different. So just like understanding, okay, I'm going to make these judgments, I'm going to feel irritated that I feel irritated, but that doesn't change the fact that I'm irritated. So you know what,
it's kind of like worrying that doesn't really do anything. Just like, unless we're gonna do something to change the irritation for the better, none of that really else matters. But I understand and feel that.
And I feel like we can always create momentum for ourselves too. If you sit in a car and you start looking at the clothes that you wear, and you like, I'm wearing my own brand that I came up with, that I put in the work. I have blissful relationships. This person is sitting next to me. We all support the vision. We support each other. And it's like thinking about those things, you can create momentum for yourself. And from that, like, law of attraction is going to do the rest.
Absolutely. I mean, again, it's going to be a balance. There are going to be some times that you're feeling shitty and you have a job to get done and you're going to have to do it. That is life. We live in a capitalistic society. That's you have to survive.
Nobody is waiting for you.
Exactly. So there are going to be days that you can't take off. That's understandable. And that's meant to be for a small period of time. Like, nothing is forever and nothing is permanent. Change is the only thing that's constant. So even if you have a routine and a schedule, things are going to happen, and then it's still on you to be like, okay, how do I want to go about this? Some days you got to push through and bite the bullet and be drained and just go through everything. And other days, you say, you know what? I've worked hard. I'm going to take a moment to myself. And sometimes that's all you need or get is a moment. Mm-hmm. But when you learn to take the moment and you can regroup and refocus, this is why so many people at a certain point talk about meditation, because meditation is one of the few things, or working out, meditation or working out, some kind of thing to be able to refocus and re-centralize especially your energy, because the negativity is strong. It's impactful. Like, it's powerful. When you're in a negative spiral, and it feels like momentum feels like it travels downward easier than it does upward. But it's all on us. Like you're saying, we can change perspective and we can give ourselves momentum just by saying, yeah, you know what, fuck, I wear my own brand. I get to do create cool things and create with dope people. That's really cool. And then when you get to see what your network is, because sometimes I'd be forgetting who I know. I don't hang out or go out with anybody. I'd be forgetting who I know until I see somebody again. I'm like, oh my God, I forgot I know this person.
Right. It's happening all the time.
And then, but you have that good, genuine connection with somebody at that moment. It's like, let's meet. Let's do this again. Let's go grab lunch. Let's go catch up. And you're like, shit, I love that. It's those little things that make a powerful difference.
Right. I feel like what helps me with it, because sometimes, like, I want to create momentum, but I'm not, like, in the mood of, like, I get it. It can be sometimes difficult when you're, like, irritated or whatever, and you don't want to force positivity on yourself. I feel like for me, what helps me the most, like, I noticed the first step was actually facing, like, what I feel and getting to the bottom of it and be like, okay, Kim, what is it that's bothering you?
Right.
And
so
it's
you
like,
actually reflect on it.
Yeah. So I get to the bottom of it, but, like, practically and efficiently, in like, as a solution seeker rather than a problem solver. You know what I mean? If I think of every problem to fix, all I'm going to find is problems. But if I think of solutions to find, I'm always going to find solutions. So I ask myself, what can I do to make you feel better, And, like, for example, today I was irritated because I felt like I didn't do what I loved doing this morning. And I feel like it's teaching me, like, okay, I know that I'm good at so many things. I know that I want to render these services. But at the same time, like, there's a way for me to do it that I will feel better. I can't just offer all of my services to 100%. People, because now I see what takes more time and what takes more of my energy, and now I know how to define my service and my rates, and I feel like it comes with that uncomfortability that I feel now. That is like, okay, now I know what to offer the next person. Now I know how to phrase it, so it I guess, like, I believe it comes with it. So
it's kind of the growing pains, the trials and tribulations.
Like the roots that you said, it's like we put in the roots in the ground. It's not the most comfortable, but
and the roots have to fight against the dirt. It's got to push. It's got to spread out. It's got to grab on. Not all of it's fun, sexy, or always pleasant. Like, you're right. Like, a lot of that feels uncomfortable until the moment you say your rate that you're proud of, and someone just says, sure.
And you do it happily.
Right. You're like, hey, yeah, that'll be this much for all of this. All things cleared, and they're like, yeah, great. Sounds good. We'll pay that. Here's your upfront or your deposit. It's the growing pains we get to get to those moments.
Right. And sometimes you see, like, stuff that came into fruition, like a dope project would come out of nowhere, or like an opportunity would come, and you know that this is because of the work. And it's like, my conscious mind would never be able to predict this offer that I received. I would never be able to predict these things. So, I'm over here sitting down thinking, no, this should be here today, or like, I have to be this way today. But it's like, who am I to decide?
Right. Right. The only thing you can control is you, and we have to set our days with intentions to move forward in the person we want to be towards the goals that we want. But we can't demand that it be on our schedule, because that's not life, Right.
And I love how today we handled it in a way that we were like, we knew that we were having a shitty day. It was so funny. I was walking in the car. But, like, we still automatically, before we left the house, we had this question, like, okay, what do I need to do today? You know, it's still like we not identify with these emotions in a way that they define us. Like, okay, this is the outside and there's the inside. I see what's going on the outside, but that doesn't mean, you know, that this is what it is. This is the reality, you know?
And I gotta say though, I actually love that we still did it because you could have easily texted me and saying, hey, can we do this tomorrow or next week or something like that? And I wouldn't have fought it out. I'm like, yeah, sure, great. Because I was feeling the same way. So sometimes it takes, you know, the like, all right, we got to go do this. This is a good thing for us. It's a helpful thing, trying to add value. So in that sense, I think having that good intention with what this is allows for us to continue to push forward and do this.
Right.
Because, you know, if this was something else, actually, if this was a paid thing for somebody else, who knows to say that we would actually even be feeling it as well. Because this is something that we're invested in. And the fact that we were both feeling a certain way about today, just in general, before even talking to each other, and then coming here throughout, I was like, I'm actually really appreciative of that. And I just think it's one of those things that if you have, again, you got to assess for yourself where you're at. And sometimes if you need a break and you're not in a good space or you're not good energy, you need that. But if you're going to do something that's around other people with good energy, it can really change your whole vibe.
Right. That refreshment of environment. Like if I'm home by myself all day, oh my God, with my own thoughts, sometimes it's good, but sometimes I just be like, I gotta FaceTime somebody because I just need another human being to exchange me with energy, you know?
Absolutely, because, you know, our own minds it's a gift and a curse. Everything is a double-edged sword. And
yes, and hold that thought because I'm going to say something.
Yeah, because the mind is the greatest thing when you want to be in solitude, but then when you don't want to be alone or your mind is going to a whole lot of negative cycle, it's like it's a very quick downward spiral. And the quickest way I've seen to turn it around is to be around good energy and good people. But I want to say that it's for me in work environments, because I think the last time I felt like, at your class when we went to go film your last class at Glass House when I showed up.
Glass House?
Yeah. So your last class when
Shout out to Glass House LA.
So I showed up, but remember it started late, and on my way there, when you called, I was like on my way. I was like, please don't tell me she's gonna call and tell me to cancel or whatever, because I'm like already 3/4 of the way here, and I was just going through this whole mental state. And I get there, and it's you and your girls. Ready to go because you're waiting for the studio to open, and just being around you guys switched up my whole vibe. I'm like, I don't need to bring negative energy to this. And I show up, I've got 3 people who all look very lovely and happy to be there to dance. Yeah. So I was like, okay, this is great. And I think it's again, it's such a powerful thing to surround yourself with good people and good energy. I prefer things away from clubs or bars. Restaurants are fine, but I think to me, getting into those atmospheres of bars and clubs is a different vibe and intention. So I much rather enjoy things where people are genuinely connected to the activity or each other. Like a dance class, everyone's there to dance and they're focused on the dance.
That's the intention. That's the vibe.
Exactly.
There's inspiration there.
And the music is fun, so you get focus. You get fun and you get focus.
Right.
And that switched up my entire mood. Like my drive prior to that, I was upset and pissed off, and I'm like, I have to deal with bills and all these stupid little annoying things of being an adult, and I'm just showing up to being around good people. I was like, oh wow, this is nice, and this is very powerful for something very small and simple. Like all I did was show up, and the 3 of you, I mean, I guess kudos that nobody else was in a bad mood, but for me to show up and you guys all be in a good, because you were waiting to go into the studio.
And the studio was
you guys could have even been upset about the whole thing as well. But I showed up, all three of you seemed happy. You were okay with it. I think we even did like another TikTok outside.
Yeah.
So it's like it turned the situation around, and it was like making lemonade out of lemons, basically.
Right. It feels like almost the mind is like some kind of like a candy or some kind of like a food. And if you eat too much of any food, it's gonna poison you.
Yeah.
So you gotta eat a little bit of it. And if you eat the same food every day, if you're alone with your own mind, you're gonna get tired of that taste. So the mind comes across other people's minds. It almost like reminds you that you are not the only one in the world, and you are actually a particle of it. And there's others, who share a mind, and it puts things in perspective. It's like, right, I'm not the only one in the world, right? I don't only the only one who has this drama, whatever it is got going on. There's other people. They have different perceptions, and it's like I have a choice.
Although it's funny. Sometimes I like being alone because I'll feel like I'm getting past my ego at some point, and then I'm reminded of my own ego when I'm around people. Sometimes I'm like, oh, and here I thought I was being spiritual and moving forward, and then somebody said something. I mean, you made me feel like they owe me for just 5 seconds.
Right, it's like that contrast.
You'd be like, and I'd be having that ego. But you're absolutely right. When you go be around other people, and sometimes even whether you're helping somebody or you hear somebody else's problems, sometimes you're like, oh, actually, I guess I wouldn't trade my problems, because some people definitely have it worse. Everything comes down to what you said earlier is like perspective, and that's kind of like a mind game.
Right.
How you perceive things, and whether it be optimistic, pessimistic, or realist, it's your perspective paints the picture.
Right. And how you see things, because that contrast is so important. It's like, okay, from my, again, about that perspective, it's like I can look in things from a perspective of like everything is supposed to be perfect and I'm supposed to be happy all the time. Or I can look at things from the perspective of like I need that contrast, because I can't just ask for life and not accept it with death. It comes with it. You know what I mean? And
I mean, that's the balance. The contrast is the balance, because it can't always be good.
Yeah, and taking that also, like understanding that, if it's a conversation that not a lot of people are ready for, but nothing happens by chance. You know what I mean? Like some people, they would, they would read bad news, or they would gossip, or they would eat bad foods, and then they would get, something happens in response to that, And then it's like, damn, like it's not fair, and why is this happening to me, and everybody hates me. But it's like nothing happens by chance.
Well, you're right, because it's what people aren't seeing in those situations is their roles and their responsibilities.
And that comes with the beauty of having a choice.
Right.
If you were never given a choice and your only choice was to be happy, you wouldn't even get to decide or have the awareness of you having a choice. You just live your life like the animals and the birds, and they all go by instinct, but we have instinct too. And sometimes the mind takes away from how we trust that instinct. You know what I mean?
It's actually a very interesting point, though, if you really think about it. Because, animals all live on instincts, but their mind isn't big enough to give them the consciousness to have a choice.
Yeah, I watched a movie once. It's called The Messiah. And in the movie, there was like, he was like the one who was awakened in humanity. He had a lot of people after him. But there was one point of the movie that it was snowing in the middle of the summer. He said one time it was snowing in the middle of the summer, and there was one snowflake. And then a bird came, drank the water, and left. And he said the bird did not even question why is it snowing in the summer, or how is this happening. She did what she could do at that moment. She drank what she needed to drink, and she flew away.
Right, no questions asked.
Exactly, instinct. This is what's happening. That's nature. All right, what can I do? And that's when the mind serves you instead of controlling you.
Yeah. Because then you're present to the moment. You're utilizing the resources and moving forward.
Right.
I had this thought earlier. I'm like, there's a reason why I think so many men subscribe to the idea of sports and war, because it's like in sports and war, those are the two things that you have to plan strategically going into. You have to have an intention, but you have to be paying attention in the moment to be able to react.
Right,
and
you
respond
have to be present
accordingly. And whatever mistake happened, you can't gripe about it. You just can't do it again.
Exactly.
Like
in the present moment, you create the future.
Like exactly. If you're sports and war and like any crisis moment, a mistake can happen and that's fine. You learn from the mistake and you just don't do it again, especially in sports and war, because the opponent's going to score or the opponent's going to win. So you don't want a losing battle that way. And it's one of the most important aspects of being a human alive is to be able to be present in the moment and understand how resourceful we are, because so many of us just get caught up in like we don't think we have resources and we won't do anything. We question everything, like, oh, why is it snowing in the middle of summertime? Why isn't my thing happening as fast as it could? Or why am I not losing weight if I'm still eating pizza and cookies? Like, it all comes down to perspective, your choices, and how you choose to move forward.
Right. So, guys, we had no clue what we're going to talk about today, and I'm so happy that we picked this topic because, honestly, if you're having a bad day, bro, same, we had a bad day too, and that's fine, I think the major points that we mentioned that is important to remember is, first, not identifying, not with the idea of how you think you should be, and not with the idea that you think things should go. So it's okay to plan. It's okay. It's good to have a vision. It's good to use your mind, and intellectually and your imagination. But don't let that create a conception that you hold onto so strongly that you're not present in the moment.
Right.
You know what I mean? And focusing on what can be done rather than dwelling on like, how is this happening to me, or why, or being the solution seeker, not the problem solver, the solution seeker, and dealing with yourself in a way that, how can we make this better for you? How can I make you feel better? No judgments, no identifying, just genuinely what can be done, like the bird.
Right. I love that. I actually have that visual in my head of the bird just swooping down, drinking a little bit of snow that's water, and taking off.
You gotta watch that movie. I'll send you later, but it's really, really good.
But I mean, that's honestly a wonderful visual for the situation. It's like you can't just sit there and question why the things are happening in life. You kind of just have to go. You, as a human being, the beauty, the gift, and the curse is that we assign the meaning. So if you're lucky enough to be conscious of what meaning you're giving to the moments, that you have to just move on with life. Like
exactly. Life don't wait on nobody.
No, it continues to move forward. It's going to continue to move forward. And tomorrow, the sun will come back out. We may or may not see it, but it's going to continue to move forward. Like every day continues to move forward, and you take your time to rest when you need, and then you push forward when you can. Understand how much power is in your control, though. And the thing that sometimes when everything feels out of control, take a moment, center yourself, and look for the solutions.
Right? There's always a solution.
Honestly, yeah. Because if you honestly just think about the problems, the problems will get bigger and bigger and bigger. You always have to look at the solution. Okay, the bills are this much. I need to make this much a day. How can I go do that? Do I have to get another job? Do I have to do this? Do I have to, what is my skill set? Where do I have certain strengths that can get me paid more, or can be a side thing as well as these things? Like, all of these things are in your power.
Period.
And it's your choices and your perspective. You can look at the day and be like, oh, it's just a shitty day, and be paralyzed and victimized by it, or you can accept that it's maybe a shitty day for you today, or maybe it's just a shitty moment in the moment, and you can go around, have some pizza, have some cookies, have a night to yourself, and then you come back at it again.
Exactly. Amazing, Shaboos. Thank you so much.
Thank
you. For
you.
real. Thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned. We got more dope shit coming.
Woo.
All right, let's get in.